This is Mike Lindell. If you're unfamiliar, he's a far-right celebrity. He's also a pillow mogul. Didn't know those existed, but here we are. Anyways, he went to this full-blown QAnon conference called Reawaken America, and it got nutty. This is actually part 2. If you haven't seen the other, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's missing. In this episode, he talks about the time the FBI seized his phone at a Hardee's. Absolutely classic. Let's watch.
You know, look at me when the FBI grabbed my phone. You know what? Don't call Mike. They might grab your phone too. You know, I mean, it's just, this is...
God, he acts so persecuted. This was literally his fault. Everything about this. I don't know if you guys remember, but yeah, the FBI seized Mike Lindell's phone. And it was actually over a case where there was a county clerk that stole private voter data and gave it to Mike Lindell illegally. It was a big fucking deal, actually. And it was Tina Peters was her name. She went to jail for that and everything. And they seized Mike Lindell's phone as evidence, you know, against Tina Peters, and he made a big deal out of it, said they were persecuting him and everything else. Anyways, yeah, Mike Lindell put out a bunch of videos about having his phone seized by the FBI. Here's the clip. This is when he originally had it taken from him. This is from mid-September 2022, and he just like complained about it for like ever.
Spring or something when they did all this, when Tina did her job and did the backup of the computer and stuff.
That was not Tina's job. Tina's job was to protect voter data, and instead she stole it and turned it over to Mike Lindell.
Follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're trying. And I go, you guys, I didn't know any of those people then. Then he goes, well, how about Dr. Doug Frank? And I go, okay, you mean that, you mean...
that's the next guy that got his phone seized by the FBI. I actually have a bunch of clips of him, too. He's a complete nutcase. He says he's a doctor, and that qualifies him, or he has a doctorate, and that qualifies him to know all about voting systems. Well, his doctorate degree is in physics. What that has to do with voting machines and politics and economics, I'll never know. This is Doug Frank on the right here. This is him talking about having his phone seized.
They took Mike's phone on a Tuesday. He was driving through a Hardee's, right? And at the time, where was I? I think I was out in the state of Washington at the time. And I'd heard about it. Everybody had told me about it. And so, yeah, I assumed they'd be coming for me next. So,
what a weird assumption if you didn't do anything wrong, huh? Anyway, keep listening to Lindell's story about having his phone seized.
The physicist from Ohio? I said, yeah. I said, I met him in Brandon House's house, his studio. And when we went to film...
You always got to bring my name up.
Right. Well, it's the truth. That's when I met him. I had never met him before.
Yeah, so he brought in Doug Frank, and people were not super happy about the fact that Mike Lindell crumbled nearly instantly and started naming names. Anyways, everybody got their phones seized over Tina Peters stealing private voter data. Like, what's wrong with her, dude? Really? Who does that?
There's a fear.
It's just terrible. So anyway, yeah, let's keep listening to Lindell. Act like a victim.
They put fear into people, the media, or their attack. But that's changing because all it is we all have to keep the word on, the good things going. Everybody knows the bad things that are going on, but we've got to communicate the hope. Right now, I can tell you there are at least 50 lawsuits going on in this country, which you don't hear about because I don't get out there and tell about them because what do?
Absolutely nothing. That's what they do. They're worthless lawsuits. They're pointless. You're wasting your time and money. They're just going to shoot you down over and over and over again. Lindell's been filing lawsuits against various different people for like ever, and it's a complete waste of everyone's time and money.
And they might seem small on paper, but every one of them is so key and important, and we've got it going on. And then when they win, I'll give you an example of a huge one that was won in Georgia. You want to hear about Georgia? Huh? So here's Georgia. Remember, Brad Raffensperger's down in Georgia. That's that song that...
God, they cannot stand Brad Raffensperger. He was the Secretary of State, I think, for Georgia during the 2020 election. And Donald Trump called Brad Raffensperger after losing in Georgia and said, I need you to find 11,000 votes for me. It was one of the most brazen examples of quid pro quo or, you know, threats or bribery or just pure unadulterated corruption that I've ever seen. You know, it was the smoking gun, basically. Getting a phone call of Donald Trump threatening Brad Raffensperger. Things go badly for people who don't find 11,000 votes for me. That kind of deal. And Raffensperger turned that phone call over to the FBI, basically. And, you know, it got blown up and everybody listened to it on the news and everything else. It was a big, ugly thing for it was a big, ugly thing for Donald Trump. So now Trump world can't stand Brad Raffensperger. They hate the dude. Which is honestly ridiculous. He was just doing his duty as Secretary of State. That's it. You know?
The devil went down to Georgia, remember? So evil Brad's there, and, you know, there's been so many things in Georgia I can't say enough, but every case that would go, every case in the United States that no judge has ever looked at the evidence, okay? They've kicked the can on standing, or they sanction me and my...
They kick the can on standing. What the fuck does that mean? He has no idea what standing is, okay? Standing is a legal concept that's existed for like hundreds and hundreds of years. What? When was the concept of standing invented? Let's just look this up and see. Wait, when was standing? The concept of standing has existed for like since long before the U.S., right? See if we can find this out. So, as far as I can tell, standing comes from Article 3 of the Constitution, which is from when the Constitution was written. 1787 is when it was ratified. So standing in the United States, our current understanding of it goes all the way back to then. But I believe standings existed since long before then in British common law, other places. A lot of our legal system came from British common law and other places like that. So, as I was saying, standing is the idea that you cannot sue somebody for something unless you were injured by that thing. You can't get something. You can't get damages from somebody unless they directly harmed you. So you go to a McDonald's, and this McDonald's gives you piping hot coffee, entirely too hot, like way hotter than it's supposed to be. Like the legal limit for how hot coffee is supposed to be is, say, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And McDonald's realizes that if they keep their coffee at 150 degrees instead of 100 degrees, it'll last longer and they can save money, right? So they give you piping hot coffee that's 150 degrees instead of the legal limit of 100 degrees. I'm just making these numbers up just for an example. And it spills on you, right? Now that you've been directly injured by this, you have the right to sue McDonald's. You have standing. Now, if standing didn't exist, literally anybody could sue McDonald's. So it wouldn't just be the person that was injured by this who actually had, you know, was harmed by the coffee. It would be everybody in the United States could sue McDonald's for this and get money from them. Now, as it stands, you can't sue McDonald's unless you are injured, but you can report them to, like, government agencies and force them to lower the temperature because they are breaking the law. That's still illegal. The concept of standing basically means only people injured by it can receive damages or can take part in, like, a lawsuit, basically. And that's why class action lawsuits exist, too, partially. Because there are people who were injured just a little bit, right? Like, I got a settlement from Starkist Tuna one time for $3 because I was included in their lawsuit. I think I was reimbursed for the cost of a single can of tuna because some people were picking up tuna that, like, I had absolutely no part in this lawsuit at all. In fact, I didn't even realize that I was included in it. I probably signed up for it at some point. But they sent $3 to me in my PayPal account, the cost of a can of tuna, because there was something to do with they were screwing people over with their tuna cans. I don't even know. So that's a small amount to me, obviously. Like, who gives a shit? It's $3. But, you know, if 1 million people receive that $3, that's $3 million from StarKist that they had to pay to compensate the people that they injured, basically. That's the concept of standing, and standing is a good thing. Anybody who says standing is a bad thing is Mike Lindell. That's about the extent of it, honestly.
My lawyers, they'll sanction us. That means you shouldn't have even brought it up to them. How dare you bring this up? You're going to pay sanctions for the other lawyer.
Dude, I have no idea what he's even referring to, but the legal system is so robust and incredible and complex that it's honestly deeply impressive. The legal system in the U.S. is deeply impressive. Now, you know, it has its problems, obviously. The legal system has its problems, without a doubt. But, you know, it's better than nothing, and when it all boils down to it, it is actually extremely impressive.
Well, good for you, Special K. We'll pay the sanctions, but we're going to keep fighting. Well, anyway, so here's Georgia. It went all the way up to the Georgia Supreme Court. This is about, what, 4 weeks ago. And it's Democrats and Republicans on the Georgia Supreme Court voted unanimously that we, the people, have standing in our elections.
Great. That's all you needed. I mean, I don't even know if this is true. This could be completely made up for all I know. But all you need is for a court to decide that you have standing. Just follow the rules like everybody else. That's all I'm asking. And that's what he did. Fantastic. If a court's ruled you have standing, great. I'm happy with that. You didn't get sick or anything from the tuna? Honestly, I don't even know what the thing was that they were being sued over. I don't even remember buying tuna. In fact, they may have sent it to the wrong PayPal address, to be perfectly honest, because I don't remember even buying a can of tuna in the past 15 years, but this happened 10 years ago or something. This is long before it was on YouTube, so yeah. It's just, who fucking knows what was going on with that. Gotta watch a play at school, Lamau. Ew, that sounds rough. Sorry. Do you have any tips with software programming? Learn different types of languages, not just regular old standard run-of-the-mill languages, but learn like functional languages too, like Haskell or Elixir. Learn, you know, different types, logical languages, and everything you can. Having a large repertoire and being able to work within any language is a huge benefit, because in the end, you don't know what language your company will expect you to be working with. You have to be able to figure out any language and work within it. Like when I started working at my last company, I didn't know C# at all. I had never worked within it before. And then it became my favorite language of all time. I fucking love C#. So anyway, that would be my recommendation. Good luck.
But those were people that had courage to go against the establishment, against the uniparty, the deep state.
No, they're just people that are going through the legal system. I'm perfectly happy with that. Go through the legal system. I have no problem with any of that. Go ahead. Go nuts.
Globalists, the evil. This is a spiritual battle of biblical proportions, everybody. We all know that. Well, that is a huge win. So, and then you probably don't even know, you all know where Carrie Lake's sitting, that's still going on. Do you all know that?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Carrie Lake lost her election fair and square, and Katie Hobbs has even been sworn in as the governor of Arizona. Carrie Lake lost fair and square, and Katie Hobbs is now the governor. Get over it.
We've appealed that, and we're going to keep fighting, and even with the other one, all the way to the Supreme Court if that's what it takes.
You can't always get into the Supreme Court. Like, if it's a state issue, which this sounds like it is, you can only appeal as high as the state Supreme Court. You can't go to the Supreme Court. Now, in some cases, you can get a federal court to pick it up, depending on the situation, at which point you could appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court. But even then, the Supreme Court has to decide if they want to take the case or not. They don't pick up every case. They pick up the ones they want to. So go nuts. Try appealing as high as you want. But I'm honestly, I doubt it's going to make it to the Supreme Court.
You know, people are going, well, you lost, you know, just let it go, let's go. And by the way, the RNC walked away from her. They walked away from Kari Lake.
Why do you think that is? Do you think maybe it's because she lost fair and square? Is that a possibility?
Candidates that were out there. The candidates that were out there, and I can sit and bash all day long, but I won't. I'm just saying that one bothered me the most because they walked away from it. This wasn't inside the machines. This was the machines. 60% of them don't take your ballot and it turns into a mail order ballot.
It's completely made up. There was a weird... Check it out. This little thing that you press, this button, is shaped just like a treasure chest on this game. If you look really closely, if you zoom in. You know, on an iPhone and maybe even on an Android, you can put your hand on your phone if you're on the YouTube app and pull out, and it will zoom in on a YouTube video. So check out that little treasure chest there. Anyways, this is made up. 60% of ballot readers didn't read the ballots. Now, that's fabricated. There were a couple of issues with a couple of ballot readers that was resolved. Nobody lost their opportunity to vote if that's what they wanted to do. If they wanted to vote, they could in Arizona. On voting day, they had a problem with the counters, but that was all taken care of eventually. This is a fabricated, non-existent problem. This is the MO of Mike Lindell. Make shit up, pretend it's a real problem, and blow it out of proportion. Would I have to go back to school to learn C++ and such? No, absolutely not. I learned C when I was 13 years old. Well, I learned it in full at 13 years old. But I was programming in C and Java, little things like calculators, when I was 9. But I actually bought a full, thick book on C and read it beginning to end at 13 and really started practicing. Started writing software. Eventually, a year later, I got a book on sockets in C, learned how to connect to the internet and create chat programs. The year after that, I learned OpenGL, which is kind of like DirectX. It's a graphics library. That's what it stands for, graphics library, Open Graphics Library. And, dude, I've just been sitting here hitting not yet over and over again. And, yeah, OpenGL is an awesome, graphics library. I loved it to death. And I used GLUT, Graphics Library Utility Kit is what it stood for. I learned all that when I was a little kid. You don't have to go to school to learn any of this. That being said, if you do go to school for programming, you have a massive leg up. Because one thing that I didn't learn, oh God, there's so much I didn't learn because I didn't go to school for this. You can succeed in this field without school, but you benefit so much. You'll be able to get so much further in your career as a software engineer if you do go to school for this stuff. For example, I didn't learn about algorithms until way late, years later, and I learned it on my own by reading a book called CLRS. The first letter of the initials of the last names of the writers, CLRS. I think it's called An Introduction to Algorithms, and it is literally everything you'd ever need to know about algorithms. Fantastic book. But the point is, there's a lot that you don't learn unless you go to school for it. If it's just a programming language, you don't have to go to school for that. You can learn it yourself.
Give me a break. The evidence is like, is this a microphone, everybody? Is this a microphone? Do we all concur? Remember the movie? Do you concur? Yes, I concur. I concur.
I don't remember that, but I didn't notice this until just now. But anybody else notice Mike Lindell's microphone? Check that out. It's like a Stars and Stripes type of deal. Weird, right?
How that judge just shoved it up is so corrupt. Katie Hobbs running her own election. I mean, give me a break.
Who would run their own election? What a monster, huh? Oh, Trump ran his own election too? Uh-oh. Katie Hobbs was the Secretary of State during the election process when in Arizona, and that's a conflict of interest. That's a conflict of interest. I'm not really happy with that. Is it reason to redo an election? No, it's not. But something that people seem to conveniently forget about, people like Mike Lindell, is the fact that Brian Kemp ran his own election too as Secretary of State. Or I think he was Secretary of State. Either that he was governor. And he was making decisions that affected the election results as Secretary of State or governor or whichever one it was. So let's not be partial about this. If you don't like it when Democrats are in that type of possible conflict of interest situation, you better not like it when Republicans do it either. You want to complain about it? Let's propose some laws that will protect us from those types of conflicts of interest. The reason I asked is I do music production, and a ton of production software is open source. I'm not sure which production software you're referring to, but working in open source is very, very difficult. It may not be the type of thing that you want to... It's not the type of thing you dabble in. This is like basically a full-time job, learning this open source project and learning to do C++. It would be very difficult. If it's something that you're very passionate about, do it. But if you're really just passionate about music and you want to do this to further your music interests, just ask somebody for help.
But you know what? People are waking up. Now where's Fox News, Newsmax, Salem Media? Where are those three that we trusted to give us their...
Who the hell is Salem Media? I've never heard of this organization. Is he just name dropping to improve their public appearance or whatever?
Voice. Why aren't they reporting that the Kerry Lake thing is still alive and we're going to win that? Why?
Because it's not, and you're not going to win it. Katie Hobbs has been sworn in as governor. That's just what it is. They're doing the exact same thing with Kerry Lake that they did with Trump. They're convinced that she's the rightful governor of Arizona or whatever, and there's an imposter sitting in the seat, just like with Trump and Biden. You lost. Accept it and move on with your life. You are wasting your life trying to fight this. It's ridiculous nonsense. Move on.
I don't get it. You got to ask yourself that. This is what we're up against. And but the Kerry Lake, we are appealing that. We in the state of Alabama, that one's going to the Supreme Court there to get rid of the machines there. Arizona, same one, that's going to the, I think, the ninth district. My cell phone case, I remember I sued the FBI and the federal government. I got a few other people, they bashed their doors in. We're going after the FBI for that too. But I sued them in the 8th district.
Yeah, I remember. I was pretty sure Mike Lindell sued the FBI to get his phone back or whatever. Look, man, if you don't want to get your phone seized by the FBI, don't do things that are illegal. Don't accept illegal materials from people that were obtained illegally. Would you be surprised to find out that I have never worried about whether or not the FBI was going to bust in my door and steal my phone? Never even crossed my mind, interestingly enough. Because I don't do illegal things. Now, sure, I guess occasionally the FBI will, bust in someone's door that's completely unjustified. The rate of that happening is so low, it's ridiculous. And in this specific case, Mike Lindell isn't innocent. He's not innocent.
I believe it is. I don't know. They got these districts, Supreme Court, 8th district, whatever it is. But it's the principle of the thing. No, I don't have my phone back. But this isn't about the phone anymore. It's about our rights.
I'm actually kind of surprised he doesn't have his phone back. I thought that they were just going to image the phone and then give it back. Weird. Well, don't break the law. You don't have to worry about having your phone seized, right? I mean, they say that about going to jail. Don't break the law, you won't go to jail. Don't break the law, you won't have to deal with this or that, whatever. That's a totally different situation. Mike Lindell legitimately broke the law, and we have evidence to prove that, and they just seized his phone. Like, get over yourself, Mike.
First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. That's what it is. If you're only gonna go halfway in. Oh boy, that looks really hard. I think I'll take this easy path. No one said getting our country back was gonna be easy. No one said that beating the devil was gonna be easy, right? It's in the Bible.
Beating the devil. Why does that sound sexual? Kind of weird.
This is it. We're in the greatest revival for Jesus Christ in history, by the way. Did y'all know that? They're pouring over because people are looking for hope. They don't look for hope when things are good. People get complacent, status quo. That's why it just kind of, with the RNC thing, it's like, don't you guys want change? You get the same input, you're going to get the same output. You know, I mean, it's got to change, and it is changing. It really is, everybody. Look at this. You want hope of our voices? These events here that they're doing, the events that General Flynn and Clay put on, this is just one piece that keeps spreading the word. Do you know what the media attacked me finally today on? Me coming and speaking at this event. No, seriously, did you know that, General?
I don't remember seeing anything about the media attacking him for speaking here. This is totally what the type of thing that he would do. And I heard from somebody recently that they were really unhappy with the fact that people call Michael Flynn General. General is a rank that you earn. And Michael Flynn is objectively, unequivocally a traitor to the U.S. government. He was pardoned for his crimes, but he definitely committed some crimes against the U.S. government and does not deserve to be called general, in my opinion or the opinion of veterans that I've spoken to. So take that for what you will.
And this was a big reporter from Guardian. That's a big outlet. He calls me up. He says, now, have you spoke at these events before? I said, what are you, you a journalist? You want me to do your job for you? You know, they all want me to do their job for them. What would you like me to say? The best one, they called me the other day. I'll give them this. Realize every journalist in the world has my direct number. The only ones that don't call are like your Foxes of the world. All the bad journalists call me from morning till night, right? So here's 3 weeks ago, and or 2 weeks ago, if you've all seen, they went after Harmeet for her religion, right?
Went after who for her religion?
Till night, right? So here's 3 weeks ago, and or 2 weeks ago, if you've all seen, they went after Harmeet for her.
I have no idea who that is. I don't know who he's talking about here.
Religion, right? And then they went after Rana for
Ronna McDaniel, I assume?
Or whatever in Mormon, whatever it was, right? So they're going back and forth in the papers, and then they called me up. The Wall Street Journal calls me up. Yeah, Mike, I said, I haven't heard from you in a while. Would you know what, this must be a huge hit job today that you're calling me the Wall Street Journal. When them
God, he's such a victim, isn't he? Always has to be the victim in any situation. It's ridiculous, dude. All right, give me a second. I have to do this part. It's really difficult. I have to get to 50, I believe. Or 40 or 50 even. Hold up. I don't know that one. There we go. B. All right, I'm just going to stop here. Give it a second. All right, we can continue listening, I guess. I just wanted to reach at least 50 points so I can get an HP Plus materia, because that's the most expensive prize for this, I think.
And CNN call, you know they gotta just, I go, well, you tell me what your hit job is, get right to the point, right now, tell me the hit job's on me. Now, he was honest, he goes, well, the story is about you, and I go, okay, what's the question? He goes, do you think religion, that religion, we know you're a Christian, do you think religion should be involved in this RNC race? Now, let me stop right there. If I say yes, here's the headlines. Mike Lindell thinks he's better than the rest of the religions, right?
No, that's not Is that even the headline that they released? Did they even do it? Is this completely made up? It's possible it is. He's trying to pretend that, like, they're out to get him when they don't have to make anything up about this guy. The things that he says are completely insane anyways, without anybody making anything up.
And if I say no, they say Mike Lindell doesn't stick up for Jesus, right? So this was the one time I had to sit there and I go, here's the deal. I said, this story, you're not getting an answer. You're going to give me that respect. I've answered every question you've ever gave me. There is no reason for you to answer this other than to attack me. This goes nowhere or you're going to lose my number forever. Both them and CNN killed the story.
Oh, isn't that convenient? No evidence that this ever happened. How about that? And we're just expected to believe everything the guy says. Just ridiculous, dude. They honestly, like, newspapers don't have to make shit up about him. The shit that he says is absolutely ass backwards without making anything up about him.
It's been like herding cats over the last couple of years with the media. But you know what? They've helped get the word out. The attack ones, they've actually helped our cause. You know that? All of them have. I've thanked them in Colorado. I'm in the steps of the Capitol. I go, and the big bouquet there, ABC. It's the last time I had a huge bouquet. I think I got sued another day that day for $1.6 billion or whatever. Piled on the pile. I don't care. So here they are, this big bouquet. And I said to them, I said, you know what? I want to thank each and every one of you horrible journalists and reporters. I said, now realize Fox not, I said, I don't have to, if Fox was here, I wouldn't be thanking them, but they're not here, of course. So I said, all you journalists on the left here, and they're all left, and I said, I want to thank you for helping save our country, for attacking me every day. I said I welcomed it. It's when they don't call that I would be very upset because then I don't have a voice. I said, you helped save our country, and the ones go, I didn't do that, well, and I said, but I don't need you anymore. I said, our voices now are beyond that.
Dude, I am so lost with this guy. This is such a train wreck of like a talk or whatever you want to call it. It's so confusing and scattershot. It's just a mess, dude.
I said, I have the platform, Frank Speech, Lindell TV. We have Real America's Voice. We have RSBN. We have these platforms that, look at RSBN. They were courageous all the way through. Just amazing. Now,
okay, in my opinion, I don't think you can have courage unless you have something to lose and you go through with something and you lose that thing anyways. Or hell, I guess you don't have to lose that thing. You can't have courage unless you have something to lose, unless there are consequences to face for doing something. That's when courage is required. Or that's when courage is displayed. What did RSBN have to lose? Nothing. By covering Mike Lindell? That's what they do. That's their whole thing. RSBN, Right Side Broadcast Network is what it means, by the way. It's a far-right nutcase newspaper, and they produce a lot of the clips that I show on my various channels. Right Side Broadcast Network is not losing anything. They are actually gaining views by talking about all of this garbage. By spreading the nonsense that they spread. They are actually benefiting by spreading this. There is no courage involved here. It's just nonsense, all of it.
Look at this is where I want to end with this hope. Look what's happened. The 2020 election will go down, and I've told this to the president just the other day. Him and I were on the phone, and I said,
Biden? He told this to Biden? I didn't know he had Biden's number.
Sir, I said, our real president, don't get all crazy.
He's talking about Trump, of course. God, he's so full of shit, dude. So full of shit.
But I said to him, I said, Mr. President, I said, I always try and encourage him and say, the people love you and going on and on. But I said, he says, our country's going down so fast, and I said, sir, the 2020 election will go down as the most important election in history, not just in the United States, but the world. And here's why. And I told him, I said, what's happened is it's been revealed because people have courage like you do. You led the way with courage, and you didn't stop, and you kept leading the way, and we got courage. And then the courage was contagious, and we all were courageous, right? So this kept going on, and now...
Going on and on? Mike Lindell and Donald Trump in conversation? You don't say. Perish the thought. Dude, this guy is ridiculous. Seriously. He's been going for 28 minutes, and I am fucking lost, dude. What is he even talking about right now? I have no clue what he's going on about. In a phone call with Trump, and they're talking about how much they love the country. It's going down. Like, I just don't know, man. I don't know. It's just a mess.
Now, by doing that, the people, they're getting revealed, the bad platforms. Look at Facebook gets revealed. Oh, Zuckerberg. Twitter got...
Why does he call him Zuckerbuck? I don't understand. Or he calls... It's not just like in reference to Mark Zuckerberg either. He also refers to Facebook as Zuckerbuck. I don't know why he does that. It's just so weird to me, honestly.
Revealed. What a blessing we have Elon Musk now that released it all, right? Y'all see my first tweet? Y'all see my first tweet? It said, hello, thanks Elon Musk. I said, I'm back. By the way, melt down the electric, the voting machines and turn them into prison bars.
Okay, voting machines are made out of silicon. And so it's basically like sand, or kind of like a version of glass to some degree. I don't think you want to melt those down and turn them into prison bars. That's just me.
And all the media goes, he didn't learn a lesson by being in Twitter jail. You know? But we've learned that these platforms, and they're being replaced. Look what we have now. True Social, Getter, Gab, Cloud Hub, Telegram, Frank Speech. You have all the, and now Twitter back. And
they do have a lot of platforms that are more favorable to the far right. That is true. But with the fact that they have those comes the fact that they simply can't complain about this anymore. They complain about free speech and losing the ability to... Blah, 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 blah. As time goes on, these platforms become less and less relevant or important because there are so many other options on the table for these people. They can go to a billion different places. Now, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are still the biggest platforms out there. They have the largest audiences. So to some degree, they are cutting off that access to the bigger platforms, to the bigger audiences. But they're not being silenced anymore. This is just, they're not being allowed to get as loud as they want to be. That's it. That's really what this is all about. They're just not allowed access to these private companies' platforms. It's just complaining nonsense.
And Facebook, don't get me wrong, you can still, some of you can still spread the word there of the other platforms. Every day you wake up, you should be getting the word out. I don't care if you have 30 people on your platform. It doesn't matter. You want to do something? Go to Frank Speech. I have a thing there called Frank Clips. These are little clips of everyone like Emerald Robinson, Roger Stone, myself, Brandon House, who you heard speak earlier today, Diamond and Silk. And they're...
Well, Silk, because, of course, Diamond died not too long ago. Rest in peace, Diamond. I don't revel in anyone's death.
Their channel, by the way, we're running it nonstop right now in memory of her, okay? But there's clips from there, and they're little mini clips, and you just share them out on your social media. These are the hope. Call them hope clips if you don't like the word Frank clip. Hope clips. Send them to all your friends every day. Because that brings, and then they see that we're not afraid to speak out because courage is contagious, and we are winning. And people, we all need to hear the hope. When you hear in Arkansas, it just took that one county, and they're all jumping on board. Nobody wants to be the first, but I'm going to end with this.
Oh my God, is it coming to the end? No, it's not. He has 30 more minutes. He's actually, what's going to happen over the next 30 minutes? Did he just say he's gonna end it with this, and then he continues on for 30 more minutes? I don't know.
Here's what's gonna bring your country back. Our country, the country I love. It's well, number one, it's gonna take God to do it. Our faith in God, and God gave us grace.
Okay, you know what? Lean on that. Lean into it. Let's see how it works out for you. Go ahead. Just do that and that alone, and we'll see if it works.
When I was on the Rose Garden speech and I said God gave us grace back then, I said God has given us grace. We need to spend time in our Bibles. We need to spend time with our families. The grace he's given us, we're living the grace right now. And yet people go, this doesn't feel like grace. Well, it is grace, because where would we be if we didn't have all the pieces we have and all the evil that's been exposed now that we didn't even know was there? Think about this. You've got to go through this to get to the beautiful. We got to find out who all the bad apples are, what's going on. We got the...
Oh, God. He's just trying to come up with an excuse for why things are actually going okay, while simultaneously trying to scare the shit out of everybody in the audience. This is actually pretty interesting. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt are a fundamental piece of propaganda like this. They must instill a sense of fear into these people. They must. That's why Tucker Carlson will talk about literally anything to scare the shit out of people. Like talking about M&Ms. Or a cloud over Turkey. Literally talked about a cloud and why it was shaped weird to him the other day. Whatever it takes to scare people. Whatever it takes to instill that sense of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's called FUD. Dead serious. This is how propaganda works. But I guess Lindell wants to instill a sense of pride and hope in people every now and then. To give them something to continue fighting for, I suppose.
Devil is greedy, everybody. Listen, evil is greedy, and that is the biggest thing we have going for us there, too. Because just like... you know, I've said it before, the Senate runoff or whatever and all this stuff, they don't care. They're greedy. So you're going, hey, maybe we should lay low for a little bit.
Right. So in the 2022 election and actually the 2020 elections, there was a Senate runoff in both cases. In 2020, it was 2 Georgia Senate seats. Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff were battling it out with their Republican counterparts to try to take the Senate seats. And they both won in 2020. In 2022, the Senate went to a runoff once again because neither party got over 50%. And according to the rules in Georgia, not every state, just this one and maybe a couple others, if you don't get over 50%, if one candidate doesn't get over 50%, then it goes to a runoff election. So both times, 2020 and 2022, it went to a runoff, and the Democrats won the runoffs both times. It was super close, but it seems like there are more Democrats in Georgia by just a hair than there are Republicans. And Mike Lindell sees a conspiracy in this, of course. He sees a conspiracy in literally everything. It's ridiculous.
They're on to us. Maybe we should lay low. Like the electronic voting machine. Maybe we should lay low. No, what they do, they turn them off in Arizona, 60% of them in the Republican. That's not laying low. That's doubling down. But more and more people then get to see the light. Their eyes are getting opened up. We go back on January 7th, just like Ronald Reagan said. We are a beacon of light. We're a light on the hill. If the light goes out here, it goes out everywhere.
Dude, is that a Reagan quote? I didn't know that was a quote from Ronald Reagan. I heard that in the TV show Lost, which, by the by, was a fantastic show. Sans all of the ridiculous references to God that, like, I got genuinely fucking sick of hearing it at a certain point. Like, they're constantly sitting there praying to Jesus and shit in that show. Otherwise, it was a fantastic show, but I thought that's where it came from, Lost. Because there was an actual literal light that was, like, lit at, like, the on the island, and Ben said, if the light goes out here, the light goes out everywhere, or whatever. Anybody remember that TV show? Holy shit, that was a good show, right? Anyway, let's keep listening.
but our lights did not go out, and we're stronger than ever. You all got to be courageous, because courage is contagious, and you guys are it right here. And God bless you all, and thank you. And
oh, dude, is this the end of his speech? He has 30 more minutes. What's going on here?
And I'd like all of you tonight, if you can pray for Silk and her family to be able to get through tomorrow and get through with their lives. It was so sad, but yet so joyful. Just remember, Diamond brought so much joy and so much. She was so courageous. So
actually, she brought a lot of nutter buttery to the table, but okay.
Let's just think of her, that they inspired me back then. I'm going, wow, they just keep standing up to old Suckabuck instead of losing. They fought
again, Zuckerbuck. Why? Why does he say that? I don't understand.
For their platform back. They were fighters, and they still are. What did they do? They didn't back down at Fox. They spoke out about it. It was probably the vaccine. It probably was. I don't know why they got kicked off. I can't remember. But they got canceled there because of their voice.
Actually, it was probably their election conspiracy stuff. Fox, spread conspiracies about the vaccine plenty. That hasn't really been an issue with Fox. It's mostly been defaming Dominion and Smartmatic that's been the real problem for Fox News.
But they stuck up, so they kept sticking up.
Wait, didn't he say that he was leaving already and thank the crowd for listening? And isn't he like walking off stage now or something? Why is he still going?
They were the first ones that came over to Frank's speech when I said, hey, they're going to kill our voice. And I said, so we'll build this ourselves so we don't lose it. I put every dime I had into that. Diamond and Silk were right there and said, we want to be a part. They didn't know if it was going to make it or not, but they knew that we could not lose our voice. So they were, I can't say enough about them. I just pray for their family. I love Diamond, I love Silk, and Diamond's looking down on us saying,
personally, I love your mom.
all of you, be courageous. And you know what? If you can, I want to say one more thing. If you have someone in addiction, we're at a time in our history where there's a toxic thing when you have the borders open with fentanyl coming in, and you have people over here losing hope. They feeling hopeless.
He's absolutely right that addiction is an ugly thing that affects people that you wouldn't even expect it to, honestly. You don't even realize, you view addicts a certain way. A lot of people do anyways. Anybody can be an addict. Anybody. Any single person. Do not fall for the stereotype of somebody who is like jobless and a leech on society or whatever. Literally any human being can fall for addiction. You have to keep an eye out. You have to watch for this stuff. But let me tell you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't turn to Mike Lindell or Jesus to get healed or cured from addiction or whatever. That doesn't help anybody. You should turn to secular therapy. Don't turn to Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. That was a religious program, not a science-based program. Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous were both started in churches. Okay, it was in a church basement. Don't turn to those. Turn to secular therapy built by scientists with time-tested techniques to help people get clean. Mike Lindell basically has a version of NA and AA where you have to turn to Jesus to solve all your problems. Jesus isn't going to solve this problem, okay? Turn to science, secular therapy to solve this.
The addictions have gotten worse, and people have started addictions, and people are dying. You can go to LindellRecoveryNetwork.org. It's free. I was an ex-addict. It's free to anyone. Just all you got to do is, hey, go there. You know that guy, that pillow guy that used to be a crack addict? Go there. Addicts will trust addicts that have made it through, okay? So that's a place to send people.
Trust me, I was an addict. It's not a place to send people. It's not. It's garbage.
that are already that they're feeling hopeless. There's so much hope, everybody, and I just thank you all, and thank you guys. Thank Clay, thank the General for having these events, and thank you all for coming, because we've got to keep our voice loud, proud, and save our country. God bless you all.
Folks, before we let Mike leave, I just want you to know, this guy...
Wow, okay. Well, I guess that was the end of his whole thing. Fascinating. Well, what are they going to be doing for the next 30 minutes? Because that was the end of his section. Oh, Michael Flynn talks. They have a bunch of other people. Okay. Well, it looks like that's the end. I think the rest is just commercials and stuff. Absolutely fascinating, man. Let me know what you think about all that in the comments. And let me know if you want to see more stuff from, like, Reawaken America, because they have some real nutty stuff on here for real.